Thank you. Thank you. Hello, thank you. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Yeah. Hello, thank you. And I'm Robert Kelly, and tonight on Record All Monsters, the first annual Record All Monsters award show and ceremony, which we're calling the RAMmies. And we're going to get right into it. Here to present our first award for the best film featured in a Record All Monsters quick look, Courtney Meissner Kelly.
From time to time, there have been and will be films that sit just outside of Record All Monsters' usual purview. But, like mysterious planets outside of our known solar system, their effects are still felt and even essential to keeping our story on track and influencing filmmakers who shape the genre we love. The nominees for Best Movie featured in a quick look are The Lost World, Kozilla, Half Human, Dinosaurus, The Colossus of New York, The Daimajin Trilogy, and the winner is Dinosaurus. Thank you, everyone. That is our quick look nominees.
Our next presenter is someone this show wouldn't exist without. Here to present the award for Best Monster Fight, my sister Aubrey.
Allegory, symbolism, metaphor, political messaging. While these things are all key to the giant monster movie genre, it is rare that they are the things that bring people to the table upon which these films are set. More often than not, what we come to see are two or more people in rubber suits bashing each other into cardboard buildings, or stop-motion animated behemoths stomping their way through miniature sets. The nominees for Best Monster Fight are King Kong vs. the Meat-Eater King Kong, Godzilla vs. Anguirus 2, Godzilla Raids Again, King Kong vs. Godzilla 2, King Kong vs. Godzilla, Godzilla, Mothra, and Rodan vs. King Ghidorah, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Gyra vs. Sonda, War of the Gargantuas. And the winner is Godzilla, Mothra, and Rodan versus King Ghidorah.
here to present the award for Best Monster Entrance, John Markheim.
The importance of first impressions can't be underemphasized, and it's hard for a giant monster not to make a huge first impression. That said, some stood head and shoulders above the rest. The nominees for Best Monster Entrance are King Kong over the trees in King Kong, Rhedosaurus over the Arctic Ridge in Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, Godzilla over the hill on Odo Island in Godzilla, and Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Gorgo, attacking the island in Gorgo. Mothra, out of the egg in, you guessed it, Mothra. And the winner is King Kong.
That one was my favorite! That was my favorite choice, that one! That's the one I voted for! Our next presenter is an author and historian, someone who brought a sense of legitimacy to the proceedings of Record All Monsters, and we're eternally grateful to for that. So it is with great pleasure here to present the award for Best Dub. There's no one better to do it. John LeMay.
While subtitles are both easier to produce and often more respectful to the original work, film dubbing is an art all its own. When done poorly, it can be the cause of derision and condemn a film to obscurity at worst and notoriety at best. However, when done well, a dub can make a film connect with an audience it otherwise may not have found. The nominees for Best Dub are Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. The Thing, Mothra vs. Godzilla AIP dub, Ghidra, the Three-Headed Monster, Frankenstein Conquers the World, and War of the Monsters, Gamera vs. Barugon AIP dub. And the winner is Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Our next presenter is a podcasting pioneer, a great help to our show. He's also a Rondo Award winner and a member of the Monster Kid Hall of Fame. Our next presenter needs no introduction. I'm not giving him one. That's it.
Even in the silent era of filmmaking, there were film scores, and the very best ones leave an impression that can last several lifetimes. My name is Derek M. Koch from Monster Kid Radio, and I'm here to tell you about these films that have given birth to iconic themes that last to this very day, as well as scores that stand alone as classical works. Like some kind of bad analogy, music is to one small example, as the whole film is to the larger example of which the previous small example is part. I really need to talk to the writers. Anyway, the nominees for Best Score are Max Steiner for King Kong, Akira Ifukube for King Kong vs. Godzilla. And here's where we realize the reason Robert asked me to do this is because he wanted me to try to pronounce these names instead of himself. I apologize if I get these names wrong. Masura Sato for Godzilla Raids Again. Angelo Lavanino for Gorgo. And Yuji Koseki for Mothra. And the winner is Akira Ifukube for King Kong vs. Godzilla.
Record All Monsters will be right back with the continuation of the first annual RAMmies, including our acting and directing awards. Our sponsors for tonight are Anchor, Monster Kid Radio, and John LeMay's Classic Monsters Unmade Volume 1. Please enjoy their ads.
Prepare for a spine-tingling, nerve-shattering podcast featuring all your favorite monsters. You won't believe your ears when you listen to Monster Kid Radio. Hear your host, Derek M. Koch, and his ever-rotating stable of guests discuss your favorite classics and sometimes not-so-classic monster movies. Subscribe to Monster Kid Radio through iTunes or Stitcher, or visit monsterkidradio.net before the next weekly episode of Monster Kid Radio. Go through the archives for interviews with Sarah Karloff, Victoria Price, and Joel Hodgson. Listen to discussions about movies like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Island of Terror, and King Kong. And don't forget convention coverage from Monster Bash and the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, Classic Monsters, Modern Talk, and the head of Rondo Hatton, only on Monster Kid Radio.
Hello, I'm Robert Kelly, host and writer of Record All Monsters, and this is an ad for Anchor. That's right, it's an ad for Anchor, and if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. I was really intimidated at first to start this show until I heard about Anchor, and there were a few things that made me feel more at ease to begin. First of all, it's free. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, and Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on a number of platforms, including whichever one you're listening to it on right now. You can even make a little money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And even their ads are easy. The mandatory call to action is something I can state freely. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Doesn't that feel good? This has been an ad for Anchor, and I've been Robert Kelly, host and writer of Record All Monsters.
They are the legendary creatures that rose at the dawn of cinema. Monochrome ghouls that forever haunt our collective imaginations. But have you heard all of their terrifying tales? Sweep away the cobwebs. Peek into the ancient tomb. From the author of the Lost Films magazine and Jaws Unmade comes Classic Monsters Unmade Volume 1. Over 400 pages chronicling the lost and unproduced motion pictures of Frankenstein, Dracula, the Mummy, and other classic monstrosities. You will witness the cursed war of Wolfman versus Dracula. Hear the return of the Phantom of the Opera and unleash the horrors contained within the brain of Frankenstein. Discover all this and more in Classic Monsters Unmade Volume 1 by John LeMay. Available now on Amazon.com.
Our next presenter is a distinguished artist and musician. He's also a good personal friend of mine. I'm very pleased to introduce to present the award for Best Director, Nathaniel Ross Smith.
A director is like an artist, and while their tools and inspiration may come from many places and many people will help bring their artwork together, it is generally their vision that forms the end result. The director is the artist who knows what pigment or actor will be best where, what kind of shading or props are necessary here, and so on and so forth. These analogies Robert keeps writing for us aren't very good and are starting to get repetitive, and he thinks that by having me bring it up in this scripted segment will let him get away with it. Well, he's wrong. Anyway, the nominees for Best Director are Marion C. Cooper for King Kong, Ishiro Honda for Godzilla, Terry E. Morse for Godzilla King of Monsters, Eugene Laurier for Gorgo, and Noriaki Yuasa for Gamera. And the winner is Ishiro Honda, Godzilla.
Our next presenter presenting the Best Supporting Actress Award is an author in his own right, a video game streamer, and a good friend. And not in that Obi-Wan and Anakin way, an actual good friend. All of our actual friendship is on screen and not alluded to in a TV series you may or may not have watched because you didn't have cable. In any respect, here to present the award for Best Supporting Actress is my good friend, Austin Forbear Douglas Ford.
Unfortunately, much like in most of film history, there's not enough for women to do in some giant monster movies, so these gals really did a lot to stand out. The nominees for Best Supporting Actress are Setsuko Wakayama as Hidemi, Godzilla Raids Again, Lee Madison as Jean Trevathan, the Giant Behemoth, Claire Gordon as Sandra Banks, Konga, Imi and Yumi Ito as the Shobijin, Mothra, Kip Hamilton as the singer, War of the Gargantuas. And the winner is Emi and Yumi Ito as the Shobijin, Mothra.
Our next presenter is a very good friend who has been an immeasurable help to our show as our language consultant. And we're so happy that she was able to come tonight to present the award for Best Supporting Actor. Please welcome to the stage, Henri Hata.
The actors in supporting roles lift up the leads and make a believable world for them to give their performances in. But they do so much more than support. By offering different points of view for one story, supporting characters flesh out the narrative and make all of the characters feel more human, even the giant monsters. The nominees for Best Supporting Actor are Akihiko Hirata as Dr. Serizawa, Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters, Raymond Burr as Steve Martin, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Vincent Winters as Sean Gorgo, Frankie Sakai as Bulldog Mothra, Ichiro Arishima as Mr. Taco, King Kong vs. Godzilla. And the winner is Akihiko Hirata as Dr. Serizawa.
Our next presenter is a very good friend of mine. He was on our episodes for The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms and The Giant Claw. He's been through a lot, and he deserves to be here tonight. Please welcome, presenting the award for Best Actress, Ray Hamley.
Even in a mediocre movie, a stellar acting performance can stand out. And while the acting in giant monster movies is not always to be praised, the following actresses made themselves memorable with co-stars who could literally hold them in the palm of their hand. The nominees for Best Actress are Fay Wray as Ann Darrow, King Kong; Momo Kokochi as Emiko Yamane, Godzilla; Yumi Shirakawa as Kiyo, Rodan; Mara Corday as Dr. Sally Caldwell, the Giant Claw; Akiko Wakabayashi as Princess Mas Dorino, Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster. And the winner is Momo Kokochi.
Please welcome back to the stage to present the award for Best Actor, Courtney Meissner-Kelly.
A film producer, a scientist, two sailors, and a miner all deal with the problem of giant monsters in different ways, but the actors portraying them give performances notable and as distant as 88 years ago. The nominees for Best Actor are Robert Armstrong as Carl Denham in King Kong, Takashi Shimura as Dr. Yamane, Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters, Akira Takarada as Ogata, Godzilla, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Kenji Sahara as Shigeru in Rodan, Bill Travers as Joe Ryan in Gorgo. And the winner is Robert Armstrong as Carl Denham in King Kong. Yay!
The first annual Record All Monsters Award Show and Ceremony will return right after this word from our sponsor, Anchor.
Spine-tingling, nerve-shattering podcast featuring all your favorite monsters. You won't believe your ears when you listen to Monster Kid Radio. Here are your hosts, Derek M. Cook, and his ever-rotating stable of guests discuss your favorite classic and sometimes not-so-classic monster movies. Subscribe to Monster Kid Radio through iTunes or Stitcher, or visit monsterkidradio.net before the next weekly episode of Monster Kid Radio. Go through the archives for interviews with Sarah Karloff, Victoria Bryce, and Joel Hodgson. Listen to discussions about movies like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Island of Terror, and King Kong. And don't forget convention coverage from Monster Bash and the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. Classic monsters, modern talk, and the head of Rondo Hatton. Only on Monster Kid Radio!
Hello, beautiful creatures of the internet. Are you a fan of kaiju, tokusatsu, mecha, and monsters in general? Well, be sure to check out Gargantucast, a podcast dedicated to cinema's biggest and most monstrous stars. Each episode, hosts Chris McDonald and Cole Grissom take on various monster media with humor and insight that shed a light on some of our favorite giant monsters and henshin heroes. Gargantucast is available wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check out the other shows and content under the Ghoulish Media umbrella at ghoulishmedia.com.
Too young for this trek. The final frontier. These are the voyages of
MC,
Troy,
and Eric. Their mission to introduce Tyler to strange new episodes.
To seek out the best and worst media in the Star Trek franchise.
To boldly go where several podcasts have probably gone before.
You could listen to these goobers talk about Star Trek by searching for Too Young for This Trek or by visiting probablywork.com.
Monster movies. We're here to celebrate monster movies. While individual films in this genre have ascended to the accepted film canon, including two of our nominees, outside of our circles, many of these films are considered silly and stupid and not worthy of cultural celebration. Tonight, we defy the popular convention and celebrate the art, the skill, the passion, and the influence of giant monster movies. Our nominees for Best Picture are King Kong, Godzilla, Gorgo, Mothra, King Kong vs. Godzilla, Mothra vs. Godzilla, War of the Gargantuas. And the winner is Godzilla. Thank you everyone for the time we have for the night to see you. And we begin season 2 in November of this year. And between now and then, remember that monsters are your friends. Good night, everybody.